So Bootstrap has a couple more exciting bar charts that you can add to your repertoire for data analysis. And that's these multi-bar and stacked bar charts. I got super excited when they were added because now you can bring in two categorical variables that you can plot together, adding to your work and your analysis and trying to compare two things. So let's look at those for a second, right? This is how you can take a look at a group and then how subgroups work within that group. So I've got down here at the bottom, how do you want to compare subgroups across the different groups? So we've got an example here. We take various species and say, how do the sexes compare within those species? So this is a multi-bar chart right here. And so across the x-axis, if you will, the x-axis area for a multi-bar chart, you will see the different groups running across there. Those are the values for this particular one is the species that we're looking at, okay? And then the values for the subgroups will then be represented by frequency bars. So the frequency of females for that rabbit or that value will then be counted. How many females will then show in that bar? How many males will then show right next to it? Multi-bars, they'll just be sitting right next to each other. And then you go on to the next value of that group and so on down the road, and you get that subgroup right next to each other. And the sample coding for it is right down here, multi-bar bar chart, again using the More Animals data set that we have that has over 400 animals in it for this particular example right here, and the species and the sex that could be looked at there. Okay? Then there's the stacked bar chart, which looks a lot like the multi-bar chart. It's the exact same type of inputs, the table and the columns, the group and the subgroup. Okay, you're still comparing, but this time it's going to do it a little bit differently. You still have those, the group values going across the bottom. So this time I had more in this particular data set. There's more species listed here, all the way. The cat's a clownfish there. And those run along that x-axis. But now the subgroup of sex in this particular example are stacked on each other by percentage. The percent value within that value, the percent of that sex, so female, what percent are female within the cat value there. So percentage of cat, and then the percent female of cat and the percent male of cats are then stacked right on top of each other. So those are the two different values. So, well, let's muddle through the language. So the kids get a workbook page and it says, show the distribution of sexes across a species. Well, I love it. It doesn't tell them which should come first and how to do it. But for you as a teacher, I just want to kind of have you walk you through it because they're going to get these two contracts, and it says put the group and then the subgroup next. So what is the group and what is the subgroup when you see it written this way? Well, you're doing the distribution of the sex across the species. So here that sexes is that subgroup that you're doing across the group, which is the species. So really that species is getting that x-axis. All the values of species is going across the x-axis, and that subgroup will be what's either being stacked in the stacked bar, or that's what's going to get its own count in the multi-bar. Okay? And so I love the contract tells them to put the group first and the subgroup second. But they practice with it and they figure out on that workbook page, as Bootstrap pedagogy does, get them to discover which one is really answering your question the best, right? Okay. And so, as always, we're trying to say, well, when should I use which graph? That's the main thing here. Well, of course, I can't get this to move. There we go. And so this is one of the slides that is in the lesson set, and it's very, very important. They're going to use that stacked bar chart. It is really great when it's trying to say, well, which one of those species has the most female. You can see it very clearly as you're looking at that stacked bar, which one is most female. It's easy to tell. But if you're trying to ask the question like, are there more female dogs than male cats? That's a little harder to read in the stacked bar chart. That's where they'd want to go over to the multi-bar, a little bit quicker to see that as the bars are then separated and seen side by side. Because you kind of have to, especially when you get into multiple, like when you have here 3 different things that could be stacked on top of each other. This is only 2, but if you get multiple values, there's 3 values and we don't see them all stacked here, but they don't start and stop at the same locations, and you have to start subtracting from each other. It's difficult. At that point, the multi-bar would be easier to view. So just helping the students know when to use them and the best time, which one will best answer their questions. Make sure you focus on that. Again, we're going to say, woohoo, thank you for using multi-bar and stack bar in your data analysis.